What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name is Adam Palmer. My name is also Adam Palmer, and this is Daily Nonsense. So the first topic we have on the show today is going to be a pretty crazy image that's going to be used in the Donruss football set. It was the images that have come out for the packaging for Patrick Mahomes on the cover. But one of the things that was, I guess it was announced at the Panini booth. It kind of was announced, kind of wasn't announced. But I believe they used the image of the card in their booth, basically, was the Saquon Barkley doing that reverse jump is going to be used on a downtown card, which that is going to be, I don't know. I don't want to say it's one of the chase cards of the year because it's a kaboom that's coming out of Donruss. I mean, I guess I don't know if that card is also going to be in like optic, because like an optic downtown may be worth more than the Donruss. And I forget off the top of my head, I don't think that they do short prints with any of those downtown cards. So you're just going to be chasing that card out of Donruss. And I mean, I don't think the product comes out soon. So it's going to be one of the biggest cards. And it really just makes me think of like, do images cost more money when they are better images? Because in my head, that would be an image that would be used on a card like all the time. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like in my head, I thought that would be one of the main Saquon Barkley images that they're actually using on cards throughout the whole football season. But like if they had to charge more for that specific image, then there's probably a chance that they want to use that image in a product or on like a case hit, basically, like is what this downtown card essentially is going to be. Like the other image that I think of here is the LeBron James when he broke the scoring record. There's this like image of him like doing like his hands are in the air, and they use it on a kaboom card. So I thought that would be an image that they would use on a ton of different products for basketball the year after, or even, I mean, the year of would also make sense depending on the production schedule. But I think probably what ends up happening is that the images cost more, or certain images are just going to cost more money. I mean, that was one of the craziest plays I think probably ever in NFL history. I wouldn't be surprised if that is on a top 10 all-time NFL list. I mean, it's actually it's a pretty dangerous play if you really think about it, because he's got his back turned to the defenders. I mean, it reminds me of the play in the Super Bowl a couple years ago when the Patriots and Eagles were playing, and Brandon Cooks decided that he was going to try and like do some magic and do some spinning, and then next thing you know, he's out for the whole game with a concussion because he wasn't looking at where the defenders were. So that's going to be a massive card. There's another massive card that's actually at the National that's already over $3.5 million. Heritage has a one-of-one logo man autograph of a Kobe and Michael Jordan. To my understanding, that is the only one of those types of cards in existence. So I wouldn't be surprised if that type of card goes for $5, $6, $7 million realistically, or if it even breaks the record. Because, I mean, you got a one-of-one, and back then they're using the game-worn patches. So you've got one-of-one Kobe, MJ, autographs, on-card autographs. It is one of probably the craziest cards of all time. Back in the day, those types of cards really didn't exist. For example, the Exquisite product in 2003, you know, we've heard the stories from Carvin Chung, who was a product designer at Upper Deck. And I've listened to him talk about the stories of him pitching these cards that were, you know, the boxes back then were like $300-400, which back then $300-400 for a box was insane. Nowadays, you're getting Topps Chrome for $300 or $400. Back then, you were looking at like a $500 box for Exquisite. And you know, those LeBron cards are now worth millions of dollars. Boxes of Exquisite, not unopened boxes, are selling for $20,000-$30,000. So it is, those are types of cards that back in the day you didn't really see much of, because they just, you know, they didn't believe that those types of cards were what the industry was looking for. They didn't think that collectors wanted those types of cards, which, you know, in retrospect is like, you know, maybe there are products nowadays that people think that collectors don't really want, but they actually do. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not even going to try and speculate on what type of products those could be realistically, but there are cards probably right now that are very similar to those Exquisite products that people don't really think that they want them. And back then it was mainly because it was all base cards and the total concepts of the like higher end products was not even really a thing. Like the Cup, for example, like Crosby and Ovechkin are both in the 2005 the Cup product, which Ovechkin I believe was a rookie the year before. Crosby was the rookie in that specific product. I believe they're both number 1 picks in the draft, but they have the Cup. And, luckily, again, they kind of timed it pretty perfectly with Crosby being like the next, not exactly the next Wayne Gretzky, but of that generation, of that era, him and Ovechkin were like the number 1 and number 2 players in their prime. Obviously, we're seeing players like McDavid and Cole Marner and like tons of great NHL players right now. But back then, it was really Crosby and Ovechkin, the top 2 players, and they just happened to 2 years before that come out with the Exquisite product. And then once that did pretty well, they were like, okay, let's do it for the NHL. Nowadays, we see tons of those cards in the market. So it's not unusual for people to see crazy patches or crazy one-of-ones or dual patches. I mean, a couple of years ago, we saw the LeBron triple logo man from 3 different years, from 3 different teams. So it's not unusual to see those types of cards and products nowadays. And the last topic that we'll quickly get into here is just kind of some of my initial thoughts at the National. So I've been here since Monday. Obviously, if you've been watching the show on, Sports Card Nonsense, which thankfully, Mike Gio and Jesse and Danny obviously let me use this backdrop, which is, looks phenomenal. Some of my initial thoughts from the show was when I was walking around, something that I noticed was when I was trying to get from one end to the other. I was on Hobby Hotline. I was in like the complete wrong area of the show because they switched where the main stage was. They switched it, I think 2 years ago, it was in the Breaker Pavilion. So that's where I was at. I was expecting it was going to be there. It was over by like the eBay and Topps booth this year. I'm going to be honest, I could have been a little bit of a better spot. We had a pretty good crowd of too also, which was great. But my thoughts are, when I was trying to get from one side of the show to the other, I had a little bit of trouble getting through the tables with the booths. And then when I got to like the Topps booth and some of the corporate booths, it seemed like spaces were just opening up. It seemed like it was much easier to walk through. And that also was only really from one experience necessarily. So like as things have gotten busier and busier throughout the day, I'm sure maybe that has changed. But from that one experience of walking through the show like that, it was, I did notice this very distinct difference between walking through the corporate booths and walking through the booths with the cards. That could be because people really just are there for the cards, and the corporate booths are insane. Like they are some of the craziest setups we've ever seen for the National. It seems like there aren't as many people as maybe they expected, or maybe there's just so much space at those corporate booths that like it's okay and you don't have to worry about there being tons of people and tons of crowds. People want to go for the cards. The other thought that I had was that the lines have been they've been long. And one of the things I've definitely seen is people talking about how this is going to be one of the most attended Nationals. And I think that most of the time when you are at the show, it can feel like that every single year, realistically. Like, I think that if you are on the floor and you're walking around and you're trying to get through, you're like, I cannot go anywhere. I can't see anything. Where people think that because it's so busy that it's going to be the top attendance, which I thought that in 2021, I believe Anaheim in 1992 or 93 was the largest attended National in the history of the show. So, we may break it. I mean, in theory, the amount of money that's been spent on those corporate booths, you kind of would hope that you would. But that's just when you're at the show and you're seeing all those people, it's very easy to think that this is the biggest show of all time. And it very may well be. But I also just think in reality, it's just, it may, the largest show of all time in Anaheim. Are there more people involved in the sports card industry now? Potentially, but I guess it's really hard to honestly gauge the market. I mean, I don't think you can really gauge the market by how much money is in it. I think that is a good indicator, but I think overall, the amount of money that's in the industry, the amount of money people are spending on cards doesn't necessarily equate to there being more people opening cards or, buying cards or doing breaks or any of these things. I mean, also the thing is like a lot of people are doing breaks and people are still buying into the breaks. So that means there's a lot of people watching the shows at home. So there's probably a lot of people who couldn't make it to the National. And, on Hobby Hotline, we talked about where there could be other great shows. I think Chicago is my favorite show. It's in the middle of the country. It's easy to get to. But like the whole town or city of Rosemont, I was talking to Victor from the rookie card specialist, and he said that the town of Rosemont is like built for this. Like there are 41 hotels around this venue. So, those are some of the thoughts I have, some of the big news, some of the cool stuff. And that's all we got for the show.